Passion is a powerful feeling of enthusiasm. The different things going on in sports. Anything popping in the DFW. Comes on every Monday night, 7 p.m. Hi, and welcome to the Passion Project. I'm your host, Coach Richard Bacon. You can see behind me, I got that legend up. Well, I actually don't have it up. I give the credit where credit is due. I always do. But my editor is Alyssa Murray, graduate of UTA this past December, and she is amazing. And man, I don't know if I've ever seen this many Coach Hughes at one time in my life. But we're going to continue to honor him, as when we shut the show down last week, we all felt like it was so much more to talk about. So this is part 2 of remembering Coach Robert Hughes Sr. Last week we started out, I had my 2 guests introduce themselves. To my right, once again, I have Coach Charles Hickman. To my left, I have Coach Wendell Ivory. And we're going to sit here and we're going to take you through some other things that we didn't get a chance to talk about, that we talked about off air, that we would like to share with you. I hate to not know or remember something. I call myself an elephant. I don't forget nothing, and I'm somewhat of a historian. But I mentioned that there was another organization out there called AAU, besides AAU, called BCI. That was the name of it. Yeah. And if you're an old school coach, or you coached a long time, or coached back in the late 70s, early 80s, you weren't playing AAU. You were playing BCI. And the BCI National Tournament was held in Phoenix, Arizona, which is where I attended school at Grand Canyon University. And I just wanted to get that out. And what the acronym BCI stands for is Basketball Congress International. It was the first thing out there for guys to go play. Give you an idea, in the summer of 1988, I was selected by the Dallas coaches to travel with our team to, when I say our team, we had a team of all-stars that had qualified for the BCI in Phoenix. 1, because I had had a little success in coaching. 2, because I was very familiar with Phoenix. And that happens to be the same year that Larry Johnson was a McDonald's All-American and a senior getting ready to go, which we thought was to SMU. Ended up going to Odessa and playing there for 2 years, and then on to UNLV where they won a national championship. But he played in the BCI, and I'll never forget some of the things he did in the BCI. It was unbelievable. So it's equivalent to, I would say, the tournaments out in Vegas now that they have, the big showcases out there. But BCI, I just wanted to make sure I come back and correct that. But that's the other basketball entity that kids played in back in the day. So let's kick this part 2 thing off with talking about Coach Hughes Sr. I don't know if I want to call it the effect, but it is an effect that he had on so many things and so many people. And I love, because I polled both Wendell and Charles for some additional questions that people may want to know. And one of the things they brought up, and I actually knew of this but didn't think about it, and I'm glad, I appreciate the question. But we want to talk about the effect he had on the city of Fort Worth and the basketball community of Fort Worth. You either didn't like Dunbar, and that was a temporary thing. Let me just tell you, it was a temporary thing, because when you were an opponent, you wanted to beat Dunbar. I don't want to go to Dunbar, I want to beat Dunbar. I've heard guys tell me that. I said, man, what high school you go to, man? I went to this school. Why you didn't go to Dunbar? Man, I didn't want to go to Dunbar, I wanted to beat Dunbar. But as soon as you realized you wasn't beating Dunbar and Coach Hughes, and the playoffs started, hey, Dunbar. Who you with, man? I'm with Dunbar, man. Where you go to school? Oh, I go to Pilot, I go to OD Wide, I go to wherever, Eastern Hill, someplace. Yeah. But you were with Dunbar once they got, and I made that comment to some coaches in Dallas at one time. I said, hey, man, have you noticed when Dunbar goes to the playoff, the whole city get behind them. But at Dallas, everybody's still with their hood. Yeah. I went to Kimball, I'm not pulling for Carter. I went to Madison, I'm not pulling for Lincoln. Right. But that was a phenomenon back in the day. So can y'all tell me a little bit more about, let's start with you one, a little bit more about the Robert Hughes effect on the city, man.
It was every spring, everybody knew as you go into spring break that more than likely, it wasn't every year, but most years, more than likely, everybody in the city was going to shut down on a Friday and head to Austin down 35. Over the years, I've been able to talk to a lot of different people that, like Coach just said, that didn't go to Dunbar. But matter of fact, we're not even Fourth ISD. We had people, Evermans and the Crowleys and all the schools surrounding Fort Worth ISD, all the school districts surrounding Fort Worth ISD. Everybody wanted to see the show. So when you hit 35 heading south on that Friday morning, because Dunbar would always play either at 4 o'clock on that Friday or 8 o'clock that Friday night. Right. Yep. That was the semifinal games. They did single sessions back then because the crowds were so big. They really didn't do double sessions for the 5A. Right. That was the highest classification at the time. And so you're driving down 35 and you see everybody headed. They blowing at each other. Boo, 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 let's go. And let me tell you something, man. It was a surreal feeling because I remember my first trip to state was in 1984 when I was in 8th grade. And I went with a neighborhood friend and his mom, and it was all the guys from our block. It was about 4 or 5 of us, and we packed up in his mom's car, and we went to Austin. That was in 1984. And man, let me tell you, that's the year they played Bryan. Coach Larry Brown, one of my college coaches. He was the head coach at Bryan at the time. Mm-hmm. And played them in the semifinals, the primetime game, the 8 o'clock game. And let me tell you something, man. The Superdome was sitting about 16,000 deep, and then some. And I would say 70% of the crowd was there to see Dunbar. Okay, they ended up losing that game, 38-35. I remember that. And as we were walking out, I got a chance to see a lot of people, guys that we knew from middle schools that went to other middle schools. They were there with their family. Okay. They were there with their family members, and everybody, trust me, everybody was there cheering, hoping, because at the time, Coach hadn't won at Dunbar yet.
Mm-hmm. Hadn't won the state
championship yet at the time.
At the time.
And, of course, you had people, well, they can't win it. Dunbar can never win it. Dunbar can never win it. So the Dunbar faithful, you would always hear, this the year.
This the year.
This the year.
Cowboys.
And when I say the city was shut down, no school that day, Dunbar Middle, we had school, but nobody was there. Mm-hmm. And the teachers were there. Some of the teachers weren't even there. Everybody was rolled. They would just get the few students that was left and just move them to the gym and just let you play basketball all day or something. Right. But I do recall that it was a Fort Worth phenomenon. It wasn't just Stop Six or the East Side. It was a Fort Worth phenomenon when Dunbar was headed to state.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is your what kind of memory do you have in regards to that?
Well, that same type of memory, just like Coach Ivory said, he noted that the city shut down, and immediately I'm thinking of Ramey. I'm thinking of one of my friends and mentors whose family owned the Stricks down the street.
Okay.
He's friends with my family from the Marlin Waco area. So he's up here. He knew I was going to Dunbar. Whenever we would go to state, he closed Stricks down. And they go travel to the state tournament.
That's how big
that's how big it was. Mm-hmm. And then even with that, what I really loved was the fact that the feeder school, it was a community thing. The feeder school, the school across the street from Dunbar. Walton. M.M. Walton. And so the kids would line up along the fence line, and the basketball players would get a send-off. student body, cheerleaders, everybody cheering us on as we're walking out. And we walk across the street, and the kids over there, let's go, Dunbar, let's go. And I mean, it was like the greatest feeling. And even today, I work at Poly. Some of the kids that played back during that time talk about how, man, back and when Dunbar was doing this, when they were winning, man, everybody hated Dunbar. They wanted to beat Dunbar. But after the by-district, the area, and everybody else was going home.
Yeah, you said it nice. So once they came to their senses.
There you go. Once they came to the senses.
Grandma might tell you.
Yeah.
Well, when you get you some sense, man.
Yeah, and so when that happened, it's like, man, we can't beat them. We might as well join them.
Enjoy the ride.
So, hey, and they giving us vacation. So we're going to take this vacation time and go cheer these boys on.
So
these young men.
It was a love-hate relationship between Dunbar
And
the city of Fort Worth. Everybody else.
Yeah, yes.
But, you might not be with us now, but you're going to be with us
But you're
before it's
going to be
over.
with us. Yep.
I will say, when you were in Austin during that time, it was like a who's who of Fort Worth. We like to call them Fort Worth famous.
Famous. Yeah.
Fort Worth famous. It was a who's who of Fort Worth famous down in Austin, man. It was a beautiful thing. And trust me, everybody was getting along. It wasn't no static. It was just a good time.
Yeah.
It was just a good time.
And Fort Worth was for Fort Worth.
Yes.
During that time. It became, and like I said, Fort Worth is a big city with that small town effect, so to speak. Once Fort Worth got to Austin, Fort Worth stuck together. They stayed together. Yeah, a beautiful thing.
Yes, indeed.
I think what also took place was people who appreciated good basketball and exciting basketball.
Yes.
If you wanted to see something, you had to go see Dunbar.
Yep.
Wait a minute, let me start off. You had to go see Coach Hughes' Dunbar team.
That's it. Yeah.
Because everybody started out with that.
Right.
Yes.
And I actually went to an I Am Terrell game when I was a little boy. I remember going to an I Am Terrell game and watching them play against my brothers and them team. And what I didn't know at the time, that this young man here was the coach of the Dunbar team.
Right.
And they shut it down. I know I Am Terrell got shut down. It's just like in Dallas, it was Booker T. We had a Booker T. Washington.
Right.
And in my opinion, and I don't think I have too many people argue this, that knew him, had the best basketball player ever come out of Dallas. Went to Booker T. Washington. Name was Sammy Hervey.
Really?
The dude's stat line was crazy. Dude averaged like 40, 3 years in a row. Sophomore. He was a point forward back before it was even thought of.
Wow.
LeBron before LeBron.
Yeah, he could do it. He could do it all, man.
Yeah.
He could do everything. And I think he had a little short stay in the ABA, maybe NBA a year or two. But he just passed away a few years ago. Me and my brother talk about it because my brother, everybody called him Slim. And Slim, man, he was the best basketball player I'd ever put my eyes on.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
He was very, very good. So another school shut down. It's two cities are a lot different, but a lot the same.
Not a lot alike. Exactly.
And it took me, I think it took me going to TCU as a coach to have more appreciation for the things that went on in Fort Worth because we were in our own little world over here in Dallas.
Right. Right.
And didn't think anything outside of Dallas. If you ain't from Dallas, you
Yeah,
ain't,
exactly.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you, the world has become a lot smaller because of the internet and how much information is able to travel and how fast it travels. Whereas back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, even the 90s, you kind of stayed in your own little cocoon because that was all you knew.
Yeah.
But I will say this: one thing I appreciated about Coach was we didn't hide. We went to Wilma Hutchins. We went to Roosevelt. We went to Dallas Lincoln. We went to Carter, Sock, DeSoto. I'm talking about even before DeSoto even took off. I'm talking about back in the days when the best basketball was in DISD and Fort Worth ISD. The suburban schools were pretty much at our mercy back in those days.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Okay. And back in those days, you talking about some hot games in Sprague Fieldhouse and oh man, some really good games.
So you guys were probably, I don't know if you were coaching at the time, when they played Dallas Lincoln when Bosch was there, the senior year, at Lowe Stadium.
Dr. Pepper's tournament.
No,
it
no,
not
it was just a
the-
scheduled
It was a
game.
shootout.
It was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a
game.
shootout. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Big
right.
C
yeah.
was on that team. I remember that.
No. With Chris Bosh.
With Bosh, what Big
Bosh.
C was big?
No. So that was
Big J.
Big J. That was Stephen Thomas, Dario.
Lance,
Was that-
Dario, those-
Lance.
Yeah, Lance.
Yes,
Lance.
Lance
Yeah, right.
Jackson.
Not
Yeah,
Big C. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Got it mixed up.
So yeah, man, and you talking about that was a hot
Let
game.
me tell you something.
It was like what you remember you said about the wilt, where there was you couldn't see the steps.
No, I know.
That game right there,
I
you
was-
couldn't see the steps.
I was still working at Morningside Middle School at the time. I think
Okay.
that may have been one of your first or second years over there.
It was.
He was on the
It was.
sideline.
Yes.
I was at the game, of course, with Smurf.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the game, and let me tell you something. And let the record show that was Lincoln's 40-0 team.
Yes.
Chris Bosh and
D-Hop.
Hopkins and all those guys. That game, man, was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I think we probably had a small lead at halftime. But in that third quarter, Chris Bosh let the world know who he was.
I sure did.
That man knocked down 3 trays deep in the corner. And these were shots we wanted him to shoot. Okay? But he knocked them down. They got a little momentum. And I will say this. We'll never know. But what if we could have got that championship game? Fort Worth Dunbar versus Dallas Lincoln.
Yeah.
Lincoln being 39-0. If we could have got that game. We
Right.
lost to Beaumont Olsen on that last second shot. On
yes.
that baseline out of bounds play.
Yeah.
We lost that game. And of course Lincoln dismantled
Yeah,
Beaumont
they ran through.
Olsen
Yeah,
that
they
day.
just
And
smashed him.
and I promise when you brought that game up, I was thinking the same thing. Man, we were in that game.
All
and,
in.
and Chris went to the corner and hit 3 threes. Then he trailed and hit 2 to 3 more.
Yeah.
And we run out, he put it on the floor. And it's like, okay, we'll
He's a
see you in a
problem.
few years, man. You're getting paid.
He's
dude.
a problem.
He's an issue.
Let me tell you something. So this is senior year. So his sophomore year at Richland, we played him down in Houston in this tournament in Humble
Okay.
for third place. And we was hoping we met in the finals. We both got upset, and then we ended up having to play them. And being a former Lincoln coach, I get a lot of Lincoln news.
Right.
And a lot of guys would come and say, Coach, what do you think about that skinny sophomore? I said, man, you got to judge me. Man, he's so weak, though, man. He ain't strong enough. He ain't. I said, boy, y'all don't know. I bet every one of them right now would eat their words
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And
about
as-
Chris.
Yeah. About Chris, yeah.
And
he
let me
can
just
play
say
that.
this. So many times we kind of discount a kid because they are not as good as advertised. If they've come with some accolades and you actually break down their game and say, hold on, but we got to understand, he can still get better. He's not a finished product.
There you go.
He's still working.
He was a sophomore when they told me
Exactly.
they were-
Exactly. He's still exactly.
And then when he manhandled Kendrick Perkins in that state championship game
Yeah.
down
Yes.
there,
Yeah. And see, and
that changed everything.
and as competitors that are at a certain level, we want the now rather than allowing him to go through the process,
Yeah.
or that individual to go through the process of getting better to reach that point. So that you hit the nail on the head, Coach. Hit
All
the
right,
nail
so
on
now
the head.
let's fast forward to this second state championship for Coach Hughes at Dunbar in 2003. Before I say that, I want to say this. UIL every 2 years do what they call realignment, where they go back and look at the enrollment at all the schools to try to make as level of a playing field as they can with competition. Coach Hughes was one of those guys that no matter what the enrollment was at Dunbar, and it had started to drop, which means he was going to have to go down to a lower classification to compete. He fought and bargained and petitioned, held signs, whatever you want to call it, to always play up. Sort of like what people do with their kids when they're young, let them play up
Play up.
because you want the more competition.
Right.
He sought the competition more than the championship. And sometimes they came together.
Came together. Yep.
They came together.
Yes,
So
it did.
that's one of the things that I admired about it, because I asked him, I think I asked him this question. I said, Coach, they were trying to move you down to 3A because back then 4A was the second highest level.
Right.
5A was the top, 4A was the second. And I was at Lincoln, and we were 4A, and he was 4A. And so he said, man, I don't want to be traveling in little old bitty towns playing these little old bitty product schools, and I want to play against the big boys.
Yes, indeed.
And I always admired him for that.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And now we got coaches sitting around, can't wait till first week in February. Man, I hope we go down.
That's right. That's
Trying
right.
to work on their 1333.
1333.
Trying to work on their
That's
third
it.
day, trying to get there.
And that's
it,
another
trying to
thing.
get
I'm
it.
glad you brought that up. The last show we didn't mention 1333. If you don't, them numbers don't ring to you. That is the most games anybody in high school basketball has ever won.
Yep.
And that's him standing up behind
Right
us.
behind us.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir.
13, and it couldn't have ended on a better set of numbers.
hey,
You
oh,
can't
man.
forget 1333.
And let me say this.
3.
I know they don't allow your sub-varsity victories
They sure
into your coaching record, but let's just say sub-varsity coach probably at 25, 2600,
Yes.
28. He's right
Yeah.
2800 if you
Yeah.
added those games
Yeah.
in too.
Because
he
They just
did.
added, just talking about varsity.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I said the same thing. I think I had a coach, we had him on the show. He was one of my assistants, and we were talking about the first time he and I had met. And he said, first time I met Bacon was when we played against each other. He was coaching the freshman team. So one of those 700 wins against me, I said, Coach, couldn't count it. They don't let you count them, man. I wish I could.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
tell me about the 2003 season, man. Walk us through start to finish. You know, what was special about it, and when did y'all know?
Hey, let me start off because I want to
okay.
give Hickman his props before he started talking.
Okay, go and give it to him.
All right. It was 2002, end of the school year. I'm sitting in my classroom at Morningside Middle School. I get a call from my teammate.
Good dude.
Yeah. So I say, oh, Charlie. Okay. Charlie, Charlie boy, what you got? Ice T, what's up? I said, chilling, man. I talked to Coach, you want to know if you want to come over here. I said, come over there? He said, yeah, come be an assistant coach. I think Coach Rock. Before he could even get out his mouth, I said, man, yes. Yes. What do I need to do? What's the case? He said, what I'll do, I'll let Coach know you want to come. And then he said he'll take care of the rest. He's already talked to Miss Benton, and it's already set up.
Yep.
So initially I was coming, I was going to still work at Morningside and just come to Dunbar and coach the freshman team. But later on that summer, Miss Benton called me and said she had a position for me. So they kind of, my principal and her, they kind of talked it out. But when I got to the school, so I always say, I tell Charles this, I say, hey man, Peter Parker was just a regular guy until that spider bit him, that radioactive spider bit him.
Yeah.
And I said, let me tell you something. I was Peter Parker when Charles Hickman called me that afternoon at Morningside Middle School. That's when I became Spider-Man, because that radioactive spider, when it got me, bam, I haven't looked back since.
then,
and I've always said, and I've told him this before, thank you.
Yeah.
Because that phone call allowed me to experience that special basketball season.
Yes.
Now, of course, Hickman's, a lot of the guys that were major players on that team were juniors, meaning they played for Coach Hickman as a freshman. So Hickman had a special bond with those kids. Okay? I was new coming in. I knew some of them because, one of my friends, Randy Williams, former Dunbar player, his nephew played on the team, Dominique Williams. Okay, so I knew some of these kids since they were like little bitty kids, like their whole life. So I knew the kids from the neighborhood that played on the team. But what made that season so special was there was a lot of hype in that season about Coach taking over the record. Okay.
And we're talking about winning.
The
right?
winningest
Win.
coach in the nation, high school basketball. And there was a lot of news coverage. Something was in the newspaper daily. It was on television. But what made that team and that year so special, it was never talked about.
Yeah.
At no point in time did Coach ever talk about it. The kids weren't talking about it. We didn't talk about it. We just went on business as usual. Every day, come to work every day. Just come to work every day. And for that group to top it off with the actual championship, beating who they beat on that particular day, it was amazing. Mm-hmm. And as far as I'm concerned, that experience as a coach, high school coach, that experience was probably it was the best in my life up until this point as far as coaching basketball. And what better way to start your high school career than winning a state championship? And trust me, I've been chasing it ever since.
Ever since, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Likewise.
And you can appreciate how hard it is to be done, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's why.
Yes.
That's why I try to help guys understand, because I got a taste of it in a different way. And then we'll get back to you on this. So my second year at Lincoln, we're in a staff meeting, just coaches. The coordinator says, he had a raspy voice, Coach William Stale, I'll never forget this guy. He said, hey, how many of y'all in here think y'all can win state this year? I'm like, this Lincoln, ain't nobody else got their hand on me.
Right.
You think you can win state? I said, Coach, I've been competing against Lincoln in the same district at another school. I was at Seagoville. Mm. And we were able to beat Lincoln. Now, I've been here a minute. I've seen all this talent here. We can win state. Mm-hmm. He said, boy, if you win state, I'm going to retire. I said, you better go and call him.
Get it ready.
You better go and call him. Yeah. And we win state my second year, right?
Gotcha.
With only 3 seniors. Mm. So what everybody talking about?
Do it again.
Gonna win it again, right?
Yeah.
So I had to keep selling the juniors and sophomores on, you better take advantage of winning it now, because next year ain't guaranteed.
Exactly.
That's right.
And you know what? We got beat in the regional finals that next year by SOC, who went to state and got beat by Port Arthur. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And everybody looking at me like, thought we were going to go back to back. Mm-hmm. I said, well, just think about it. If you hadn't won it last year, you wouldn't even have a state title.
There you go. There wouldn't be a back.
It wouldn't be
a back. That's
wouldn't be a back.
Wouldn't be a front.
Wouldn't be a front.
You wouldn't even have had the first one. So
that's right.
So that's I get what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And then we were fortunate enough to get back down there again 2 years later. And my principal, boy, I tell you, boy, he was something else, man. He got on his coaches. He called you out in faculty meeting. He called, so realignment. Here we go with realignment. And then realignment in Dallas, the districts very seldom change up. But somehow South Oak Cliff went up, so they moved up to 5A, and we was in 4A. So we walk into the faculty meeting, and I always sat on the front row, because I learned that from a college coach. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting on the front row, and so he's up on the podium. He don't see me because he's looking up there for me. Mm-hmm. Where's Coach Bacon? Anybody see Coach Bacon? I said, I'm right here. Coach Bacon, you going to get me to the big house this year? That's what he called going to Austin. You going to get me to the big house this year? That's the plan. No, that ain't what I asked you. Are you going to get me to the big house this year? He said, I got South Oak Cliff elevated to 5A since you can't beat him. He called me out just like that, man.
Boy.
He said, since you can't beat them, I got them moved up to 5A.
Wow.
Because they beat us that year I was talking about in 92, in 91, and then turn around in 92. They won state and beat us to go. Same game, regional finals. Beat us to go, and they won it. So in 93, he fronted me out in front of everybody.
Golly.
And so we were fortunate enough to win it again.
Go get it.
But it wasn't back to back.
Right.
That's all right.
But you got it, though.
But we got it.
But you got it.
But tell me about your 2003 journey.
The experience with the 2003, and I want to kind of backtrack with and speak on what Coach Ivory said at the beginning. You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
We've been rocking for a long time, and it don't get any better. Mm-hmm. And you remember during that season, and I'm gonna go back, but I'm gonna get to the state championship game. Everybody hitting us up for tickets. This hit song during that time by Ludacris and Jermaine Dupri, "Welcome to Atlanta."
Yes. Yes.
We were in our hotel room a couple of hours before the game. My phone kept going off. My ringtone was dong, 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 dong.
Yes.
And so I said, big win.
So of
I
course
said,
we roommates.
Yeah, we roommates. I said, big win. I said, man, this phone keeps ringing. I said, I'm not answering it again. I put it on the bed. 10, 9, dong, 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 dong.
Yes. Welcome to Atlanta.
5, 4, dong, 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 dong. It was just going off. And Wynn looked at me, he said, Charlie, don't it feel good to be Kings, man? And I said, boy, it's a great feeling, man.
He's smiling down on him,
man.
boy.
Oh my
it's
gosh,
all right,
it was a great feeling. And so, but anyway, getting back to that, you know, Coach Hughes and I, like I stated on the previous show, that you know, Coach Hughes and I started building a pretty good relationship where I could go talk to him about anything. And, you know, I won't go into great detail about why that phone call happened, but Coach Ivory knows why it happened, and everything was gonna be aligned with things that was gonna happen in the future. And so when he answered the phone and said yes, I was like, yeah, now I got a guy about my age that I can relate to on staff, and now we really about to corral these young guys, and we're gonna make some real good music together, you know, really. And now moving forward to that whole experience with the 2003 season, you know, we stated that we lost to DeSoto early on, right? And so once we lost that game, the word that sticks out to me is preparation, okay? And I remember Coach and I talking about the previous season when we got beat in the semifinals, Final Four. And he was like, you know, it's one thing that's not going to happen. And a lot of people don't realize this. Coach Hughes coached volleyball too. He coached for years the sub-varsity. He coached with Coach Smith. When Coach Smith retired, I think it was my second year there, I think, he was like, well, the way we do it at Dunbar, you know, we don't do the outside stuff. We stay inside. And he said, so I don't know if you want to, but they just asked me to be the varsity volleyball coach. And I need an assistant. And I started laughing. I said, Coach, are you serious? He was like, yeah. He said, well, you don't, and they want you to do 2 sports, so this will be your 2. So you know what, let's do it. And everything that guy touches almost seems like it turns golden for the most part. This guy won district as a head varsity volleyball coach. He won district.
You know, I had heard that he was coaching volleyball, but I didn't know it was the varsity.
Yeah,
I thought
he coached varsity.
You know, like a sub-varsity.
Yeah,
team.
and we made the playoffs. We got knocked out, and that 2002 season, he was, I mean, it took a toll on him, basically. Gotcha. So that's where that conversation came from, and he was like, well, you know what? They're going to get somebody else, and this next year, we have a solid foundation coming back, and I'm not going to be like I was going into this past season because I don't have those responsibilities.
Gotcha.
And man, when I tell you the preparation, it was all about business. It was when you come in this gym, before practice starts, get on the free throw line. Because we lost that game last year in the state semifinal because of free throws. I think we missed maybe 11 or 12, and I don't know how many we lost, but I don't remember. But it wasn't by many, but we hit those free throws. Yeah, we hit those free throws. We're on to the state final. Moving forward, he asked me if I knew anything about a gun. I was like, Coach, what are you talking about, a gun? He's like, the kid said something about they want some kind of shooting thing. It's called, I said.
You have to watch how you word yourself.
Right,
in the hood.
right. And I said, yeah, that's one of those new shooting apparatuses. And, you know, I mean, in actuality, I've heard some really good things about it. He said, okay, well, I'm thinking about getting. I said, you probably should, Coach. I said, and the thing is, what they use, he said, yeah, that's the thing. He said, because that damn thing's $5,000. And so I said, yeah, I think it'll be a good investment.
In the 90s, that was a lot of money, man,
A lot of money.
for apparatus.
That's right.
Shooting apparatus.
so
Shooting apparatus.
once he got it, Lance, Jeff, Damo, all the shooters, they stayed on that thing. And it's like, Coach, can you unlock the lock so we can pull the gun out and use it? And he was like, man, I guess the investment is going to pay off. And when I tell you, just the preparation leading up to the state championship, every game was important. Every free throw was important. Every jump shot that was shot was important. And the more that they shot free throws, the more that they shot jump shots on that gun, their shooting percentages went up. And if one was off, somebody was on that season. And like Coach Ivory said, no one talked about Coach breaking the record. Our focus was on getting back to Austin because we had unfinished business. And then you have the media. It was somebody in the gym every day. The closer he got to it, it was somebody. Distractions could have happened, but the focus stayed right there, getting back down to the drum in Austin. Yeah. And so that's most memorable for me.
Let me jump on that. One thing that we have to say about that group of guys, the summer program, MASH.
Oh my gosh, yes.
One of Coach's former players, Hickman's 8th grade coach, Spanky, Wayne Lewis. We always kid Spank because he hit the shot. He hit the free throws. There was a time 0-0 on the clock. I am Turtle. I don't know what year it was, 65, something
like that. Yeah,
68 something. No time on the clock. They fouled Wayne Spanky Lewis in the PVIL state championship, and he went up and knocked down both free throws. Game over.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know that about Spank,
right?
But I got that story, and
yes.
I always say, hey, Spank, hey, you hit the free throws, man.
That's right.
So
state champion.
you know, and so, but he was the coach, and a couple of former players also coached. Rand coached, Shake, Derek coached, Otis coached with them. Kevin Crawford, former TCU player, would work with them. So
I know Crawford.
Yeah, KC. So they worked in the summertime with the kids, and they would practice up at the King Center.
Yes.
I mean, it was their AAU team,
right?
But they stayed together.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, when you took that AAU, that MASH team, and everybody knew that was Dunbar High School.
Yes.
They were playing all of the Team Texases and all those, and competing. I'm not gonna say they beat all of them, but they competed. Every game was good, and they won some Gassos.
Yes.
They won a few Gasso tournaments. You know, that MASH group. So heading into the season, they were already, the chemistry was there, the bond was there because they were playing all over the state almost every weekend, traveling together, staying in hotels together.
Yeah.
And I know that played a huge part in the success of that season and beyond with those kids.
It did. And Spanky and I actually had a conversation about that, and I did give him his props. And I told him, I said, Spank, I said, you know, a lot of folk don't realize what went on behind the scenes. They just saw that Royal Blue winning the state championship that year, but you guys had those guys in the summertime. And then even more so, Spank always says Coach Hughes was ahead of his time. When the AAU stuff started happening and everybody's coming from all over the place, he looked at me and he said, now why would I want to go play with somebody else? And if it's not against no rules, why don't I just put my whole team in it and we stay together? That's more practice time, more playing time, more bonding time. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
So that was a genius move.
Put y'all up on something. So I'm still getting chills because everything y'all said has been my coaching path. You'd have thought I copied everything he did. Yeah. So let me take you back to the 80s before they allowed Texas players to play in the summer and all that stuff. You could have one player on a team from any school.
Yep.
Then they moved it up to 3. 3 dudes met downtown Dallas by the old, let me see, I can't remember the name of the hotel. It's one of the older hotels down there. We pulled on the side of the road. It was me, Alex Gim, and Ron Powell. Ron Powell was the head coach at North Mesquite High School. Coach South Oak Cliff. He was the coach when Derek Day hit the shot from half court.
Yeah.
He was coaching that South Oak
Right.
Cliff team, the
Okay.
white guy.
Yes, I remember.
Right?
Yeah.
That's Ron Powell. So me, Ron Powell, and Alex Gillum, who was the coach at Carter,
Right.
Coach Michael Williams.
Coach Gillum, yeah.
And we formed the very first summer league basketball for Dallas area. We put that together.
Yeah, wow, yes.
Okay.
And I remember that too.
Let's fast forward it to the 90s when I'm at Richland. And I brought it up in the first show that I had this coach, when the boys asked him, do you have 50 cents? And he said, yeah, I got 50 cents. Yeah, I know I got 50 cents, but we was talking about the music 50 cents.
Yeah.
That team had probably 8 of my Richland guys on it. So they were playing together all summer
yes.
because there was no restriction on how many kids you could have.
Right.
And we played that. We went to Vegas. I'm telling you how proud I was. We went to Vegas and made it to the second day.
Oh, wow.
Look, you get to day two in Vegas.
Vegas, yeah.
And we was a high school team playing in the AAU division.
Yeah.
And we made it to the second day. So
keep doing something.
they took a chartered bus out to the game in Vegas. So what I did was me and my wife had flown out there to watch the games. And we had bought tickets to go back the night of the night game on day one, because I was assured we weren't going to get past day one.
Right.
I ate them tickets and rode on the chartered bus back, because it was only like 12 players.
Right.
They had like a 55 passenger bus.
Right.
So I just said, man, I'll jump on the bus. I rode the bus back from Vegas to Dallas because I wanted to watch them boys play the second day.
Second day, yeah.
That's all right.
Wow.
And so it's the same concept Coach Hughes had with, why should I have somebody else's boys playing? Well, we can benefit from the chemistry and all that
That's
kind
right.
of stuff.
That's right, yeah.
So, man,
that
I
something?
didn't even know it that I was going down the right road. I was just going. I was driving fast and wasn't paying attention.
Yes, indeed.
So,
Yes, indeed.
all right, guys, good stuff. Now, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this question because you've said a lot of this already. But what would you give me some impacts that you think Coach Hughes had on the east side of Fort Worth and Stop Six? Some of the things that, like, man, Coach Hughes walked down the street, everybody straighten up, sit up straight, give me some of these impacts. Because let me ask you this, because I think I've read something here recently. Didn't they build like some condos or something called the Hughes Place or something?
Yes, where the former Stop Six projects were over by the old high school off of Willie Street.
Okay.
That's where the neighborhood is. They've bulldozed all the projects. They've put up some single-family homes in that area.
And what is it called? The Hughes something, isn't it?
Hughes Place.
Hughes Place.
Yeah.
Man, high school coach.
Yeah. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
The first thing I can say that Coach did for the Stop Six, and when we say Stop Six, guys, we cannot forget Eastwood. Eastwood, that neighborhood is a very large part of Dunbar history, just academic, sports, whatever. Eastwood. So as we say on the east side, 6 and 8 is running mates. Stop Six is the 6, Eastwood is the 8, and we all put them together, they running mates.
Yeah.
I always been tight knit, side by side, of course. But Coach instilled pride, man. You were proud to say, I go to Dunbar. Whether you played basketball or not, you were proud to say, I go to Dunbar. You were proud to say, I'm from Stop Six. Even to this day, people will say, hey, Wayne, what part of I'm from a small town on the east side of Fort Worth. You may have heard of it, Stop Six. That's how I say it because, man, when I went to college, if you knew anything about Fort Worth, you knew something about Stop Six.
That's right.
And if you knew something about Stop Six, you knew something about Dunbar basketball. It was a badge of honor, man, to say that I played basketball at Dunbar.
Right.
So it was pride. That's the first thing I can say. Coach, his impact was pride. They call Coach the mayor of Stop Six because Coach in the summertime, after Coach opened up the gym, Coach would just take off walking, man. He kept himself up. He stayed in shape. Coach would take off walking, man, from 820 and Ramey and 820 all the way up to, let's say, Woodhaven, that area, loop around and come back. So let's say about 6 to 7 mile tote round trip, maybe 8 mile round trip, every day, Monday through Friday, every day. And coach would come in, he go take his shower, he come back out, and man, just me talking about this makes me remember this. You know, coach was a light complected man, right? Of course, he go walk in that Texas sun. So coach come back, he go take his shower. You know, we in the gym shooting, whatever. Coach just sit out and watch. But coach, when he come out the shower, he wouldn't have like workout shoes, gym shoes on. He'd have on like flip flops. So of course, coach back in them days, you wore your socks kind of high. Coach wore his socks kind of high, so he'd walk out in that sun. You could see how coach really supposed to look versus what that Texas heat did to him.
Yes.
So we were like, man. Is it that bad out there?
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm in here.
I know, man.
If it's that bad out there.
And you forgot when.
You changed your nationality.
What?
That son,
You
huh?
forgot how he used to come in from that heat, man, in the back door. In the back door, he take those shades off and look around.
Look and see who's in there.
Before he go get in the shower,
Yeah,
man.
you look and see who's in the gym.
You look and see who's in there working.
Hey, man. I really appreciated Coach having that gym open Monday through Friday. I really did. It was a place for kids to go. And it wasn't just us. The little kids, he would let the little kids come in the gym, and they'd get like a little, because people don't know this, when Coach was at Turl was kindergarten all the way up.
Yep.
So when he was the basketball coach, he was the basketball coach for everybody. So he was coaching kindergartners, first graders, so he would have the kids in the gym.
Yep.
And of course, as they got older, they played in middle school and in high school.
Well, coach was a little bit smarter than the rest of them. He knew they were going to grow up.
He understood. He understood. He understood.
He knew they were going to grow up.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So
yeah.
coach would have
That's right.
the neighborhood little kids would come up to the gym. Let's say they get their hour in, and coach would let them play. They're playing. Then he'd bring in the sub varsity with the future freshmen. They come in and get their work in, and then he'd bring in the varsity boys with the veterans.
With the vets.
And that's a whole nother story.
Oh my gosh.
The
Whole nother podcast.
the veteran story.
Yeah. Oh my
Ooh.
gosh. Yeah.
We're going to wrap this up here pretty quick, man. But can y'all give me a couple of quotes that you can remember Coach used to say to you and still stick with you today?
Well, I have. It's not necessarily. Well, one is a quote. He would always say, "If you have to tell them who you is, then you ain't." and I loved how
You got to tell them who you is, you ain't.
he would always, whenever you say, "Hey, coach, how you doing? Hey, man, it was a good day today, huh?" "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." And then,
Well, you got all the mannerisms.
yeah.
When you do all that, I remember.
yeah.
That's him.
And then he would also say, after the "yes, sir," "Hey, coach, have a good night." "Hey, you betcha."
You betcha. And let me say, man, it's
betcha.
funny you say that, yes, sir, because as a basketball player in that gym, you fought as hard as you could to get coach to say, yes, sir, for anything you did.
Yeah.
Whether it was a good pass, a good rebound, a good whatever, good defense.
Oh, man.
Man, you broke your neck
To get
to
you
get
a
a
yes,
yes, sir, because that was approval. I'm doing a good job.
That confirmation.
I'm doing a good job.
Yes.
Okay. I just recall Coach in the gym. He just had this coach isms like, boy, like if somebody come to Coach ask, Coach, can I try for the team? He always gonna say, basketball team? Are you a flea? He'd ask if you a flea, meaning are you a chump player or can you play?
Oh, you just trying to
All
stick
right?
around.
You try, yeah. He always say that. Another thing Coach would do is like when you're out there playing or whatever, and you like some kids are really fast. He call them bullet. That's a bullet right there. He call them a bullet. Okay, he call them a bullet. And let's say you missing a few shots in the gym that particular day. Coach say, "Boy, you couldn't hit a bull in the behind with a handful of sand. You just can't even."
Hey, with the tail up.
With the tail up. Man, hey guys, and Hickman, we talking about it. People don't understand how humble Coach was. because, and we all know Coach is this stoic and not, man of few words. But Coach was real humble. As an assistant coach to Coach Hughes, and Hickman, you can attest to this. As an assistant coach to Coach Hughes, Coach was not going to allow us to outwork him.
Oh my gosh.
I've heard head coaches say, I don't wash uniforms because I'm the head coach. I got assistants do that. Coach Hughes was the first. He gonna get the load started, and we would have to say, Coach, we got it. Yeah. Coach, we got it. Coach Rambo too. Them folk, they had worked together for so long by themselves. They kind of had a machine going. Yeah. They had a system. And when me and Coach Hickman got over there, we were trying to get into the system to kind of let them chill out a little bit.
Yes.
Chill out a little bit. But man, Coach, you remember this, Hick? You know those old school cage doors that you would probably keep your equipment behind or whatever, and they had two sides. It was a top side and it was a bottom side. They opened separately. Okay, for whatever reason. Well, Coach would have chains on them, so he would open up the bottom lock, and he wouldn't bother to open the top lock. And we all know Coach 6'6", 6'7". He
underneath, that's where the uniform.
And when I was working with Coach, he was in his 70s.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was every day.
Yeah.
Just to go wash clothes or just to go do something with the uniforms or whatever. That's one. And who am I? If Robert Hughes Sr. at 70-some years old, 40-some years coaching the game, can wash uniforms and get his hand, pick up sweaty uniforms, because we're not putting on gloves, we're just getting them in.
Right.
Of course I can.
Could I add to that real quick?
Please.
I know we gotta close it down, Coach. But you hit the nail on the head. I remember, man, my first year there, I was like, Coach, I said, what you need me to do anything? I said, let me get the uniform. Don't worry about it, I got it. So I walk out, make sure all the kids left, got their rides, everything. And I go back in, Coach. I said, no, I can knock that out, Coach. Hey, that's what I'm here for. And he said, don't worry about it. He said, I'll be up here on Sunday anyway. I ain't gonna be doing nothing. I'm gonna get away from the house and I'll just get the laundry done then.
Yes,
and I'm like, okay. And then, but hold on. This is where, we had that talk where we know we're his coworker, but sometimes our thought process is, man, this is our coach. We still playing for him, even though we're coworkers. I saw the uniform sitting there still. I said, Coach, I'm going to go ahead and get him. He said, didn't I tell you I was going to tell? Yes, sir. And I shut it down. I left well enough alone. And then also as assistant coaches, most people don't, they look at him, like Coach said, the stoic and just kind of, and I would, people that really don't know him, I think that they would think that he was just this unapproachable, maybe partially arrogant type of guy. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. When he broke that record, last district game, Coach Ivor and I was talking about that earlier today, the last district game of that season, he took the mic, and we're going to be able to drop the mic after I tell you this. We're going to be able to shut it down. He says, he got the mic, was talking to all the fans. He said, I didn't do this alone. He said, I always had good help, my assistant coaches. And he said, and Coach Rambo has been with me the longest. Then he said, and to my players, if you lasted 4 years with me, you're special. Then he said, and to the parents of the players that allowed them to stay with me, because I know that I'm hard. Thank you, you're special. And then he said, and in the words of old Blue Eyes, and then he said, and that's Frank Sinatra, I can smile and walk away and say that I did it my way.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and put a period on that.
Bam.
Because you guys have confirmed to me that not only did I do it my way, but I did it the right way.
That's it.